So I recently had a company reach out to me for a review by the name of Edge Independent Product Developers. And once I saw what they wanted me to review, I thought it was pretty cool and something different here for the channel, and I think you're going to like it too. Let's check this out. All right, we're over on the other bench, and this is what they call the AR Builder Board. And I just thought this was super cool, especially for a new person that's coming into the firearm world and they are wanting to build their very first AR-15. So let's get this out of the package and see what all we've got. All right, so the first thing we've got here is like a schematic or a blueprint for all the parts in an AR-15 lower. Now all the parts are numbered and they are labeled. The other cool thing is with this, you've got arrows pointing where every piece goes. This is a pretty valuable thing for a person building their very first AR. Now the other really cool thing about this, if you decide to get this for someone in your family, or maybe you want to build your first AR-15 with one of your kids, on the back of this there are QR codes that you can scan, and there's actually videos for every one of these parts and how to install them. Now I can't show you what the back of this looks like because it says don't share this with anyone. This is for the people who are buying the board, and I get that. But I do think it's pretty awesome that not only do you have this, but they also have video tutorials on how to install all of these parts. All right, so let's get into the board itself. So this is obviously made out of wood. Looks like it's been laser cut. It does come with a set of tweezers. I'm going to leave those in. There's also a magnet right here for very small parts you can put on that so they're not flying all over your bench. It's also got a hole for miscellaneous parts. Now obviously this is for mil-spec parts. This isn't going to work with a drop-in trigger or anything like that. But let's face it, a lot of people when they build their very first AR, they are going to kind of go the cheap route, and they're probably going to go with mil-spec parts and a more budget-friendly lower, like a lower from PSA or Anderson. And down the road, they will tear back into that AR and they will start putting some better, more quality parts in it. But for a first-time AR builder, this is pretty cool. Now, I want to go back to this again, and if you look on the board, all these slots are numbered, and you can go back to this for a reference to tell you what each one of these parts are called. Now, I have built quite a few AR-15s in my time, so I have a lot of mil-spec parts laying around, so we're going to kind of see how this works. All right, so I've got a mil-spec trigger. That's going to drop right here in this spot. We've got our safety selector. That's going to go right here. We have our trigger spring. That will go right here. We've got our hammer spring. That's going to go right here. We have our hammer. That's going to go right above our hammer spring. We've got our magazine catch, which is going to go right here. And we have our magazine release button, which is going to go in our number 6 slot. Now, I'm not going to make this video any longer than it needs to be. I'm not going to go grab the rest of the parts and put them in here. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of how all of this stuff lays out. All right, I know a lot of you are sitting there watching this and saying, well, Chris, I don't need this builder's board. I've already built quite a few AR-15s. I know where all the parts go, and I don't need something like this. And I hear you. When I was a kid growing up, I loved playing with Legos. I could build stuff out of Legos for hours. I would take my box, dump it on the floor, and just sit there for hours and be entertained building things. And let's face it, this is kind of like Legos, but way cooler. So this is what I think this is perfect for. Let's say that you have a kid who is starting to take interest in firearms, and he wants to start, or she wants to start, heading to the range with you and learning about guns and shooting guns. And years ago, when my son started going to the range with me, he started to take a lot of interest in the AR-15. And that's when I said, hey, do you want to help me build one? And I still think about that day a lot and how cool that was to sit at the bench with my kid and build an AR-15. And honestly, I wish I would have had something like this, because at least you can lay this out on the table, put all the parts in there. You've got that blueprint or schematic, whatever you want to call it. And they can sit there and look at the numbers and look at the parts names, and they start to get an understanding of what all those parts are. And that is also a good time while you're sitting there, is explain to them what each one of those parts do, how they work, how they make the firearm function. And it's just going to be a really super cool experience with one of your kids. The other thing this is great for is if you have a friend or a coworker who is starting to take some interest in firearms. And, they might come up to you and say, hey, can I go to the range with you? I'd like to shoot a few guns. I'm thinking about picking one up. And a lot of times when you go to the range, especially with an AR, that person is going to want their own. And they're going to say, well, I think I'm going to go to the store and buy my first AR-15. And that's when you can show them this and say, hey, it's a lot more fun to build one than go to the store and buy one. So the next thing you're probably going to ask is, how much is this builder's board, Chris? And we're really not allowed to talk about prices, so we're going to have to be a little vague here. If you want just the board, like I have here, and this will come with that printout, it also comes with the tweezers, you're looking at right under 40 beans, which I think is a pretty awesome price, and that would make a pretty good gift for one of those people we were just talking about who is starting to show interest in firearms. Now, the other cool thing is, when you go to their website, they also have the option to buy this board with a complete mil-spec lower parts kit. And that is going to run you 99 beans, which I don't think is priced too bad either. So for right under 100 beans, you can sit down and have some good quality family time with one of your kids, or a family member, or a good friend who is wanting to get into the firearms game, and just have a damn good time putting their first AR-15 together. Now, I obviously cannot direct link to this product off of this video, so you can do what everybody else does. Go to my website, head to the weekly deals section, and I will have a link for this AR builder's board. And I really want to thank Edge Independent Product Developers for sending this out to the channel, because I just think this is super cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.